Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and I'm so glad that you are with me today. So today we are going to be chatting about the 5 worst plants that I was influenced to buy. So also this video is sponsored by Skillshare. We will talk more about them a little bit later. So in this world of owning houseplants and plant-fluencers and plant YouTubers and plant TikTokers, all of these things, also just like having friends and plants, there's a lot of times when we are perhaps influenced to buy a plant because everybody says it's so great. And there have been times when I have fallen prey to that whole ideal and then realized, wow, this plant is not for me. I do not like this plant for whatever reason it may be. I have 5 examples to share with you today and why these plants just did not work out for me, and I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say. So if you have a plant that someone highly suggested you getting and you ended up hating it, even if it was me, even if I told you to get the plant, because I do make a lot of videos saying you should buy this plant, you should have this plant, these plants are great for this and that. I make a lot of videos like that, so I do recommend a lot of plants. If you've ever been recommended a plant and it just like wasn't it, comment down below. I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say. So we're gonna start with number 1 for me, and that is the Monstera standelyana. I have so many thoughts and feelings about this plant, and I have dragged this plant online before, so sorry if you've already heard this rant, but I bought a Monstera standelyana when it was rising in popularity, so it was definitely hard to get still. And you know what, I would say even now it's not very popular and might be a little hard to get still. Like I definitely haven't seen it in like a big box store or even at a plant nursery really. Actually, I think Vintage Hill sells them, but other than that, like it's, you know, it's not a super common plant to see on the shelves. I think that I paid $70-ish for a plant that had like 4 leaves on it, and at the time I remember I was in this phase of life when I was just buying plants because they were quote unquote rare or like highly sought after by other people. And so when I finally saw one available, I just bought it and like didn't really think through the purchase process. And I'm actually going to make a video detailing the rules and boundaries that I have set for myself with owning houseplants so that I don't make decisions like that anymore. So stay tuned for that one because it'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. It's definitely on my content schedule for June, or for July. We're done with June. But yeah, so that plant, it put out a lot of runners, and when it actually did put out like good substantial leaves, I just honestly didn't think it was that pretty to begin with. Like there's definitely plants that are more beautiful in my mind, like other types of monsteras, like for example the Thai constellation that is beautifully displaying herself behind me. Like I would so much rather put my energy into a plant like this than the Monstera standelyana, and like where my heart was just like not in it. So definitely don't recommend that one, although I have seen people with like crazy insane Monstera standelyanas, and I don't know how they do it because that plant loves to put out runners. And you know what, this isn't on my list, but I will say the Monstera, what is it called? It looks like a turtle shell kind of. It starts with a K. Yes, okay, the Monstera carstenianum. Oh, the Monstera Peru is like the common name. I don't even know what I just said. The Monstera Peru is also on this list. I'm adding it right now because that plant also loves to put out runners. It looks really good when it looks good, and then something happens and it just goes really bad. So those are 2 to start with. The next plant that I would not recommend, that I was influenced to buy, is the Hoya macrophylla. This plant, okay, I can't say I wouldn't recommend it because again, other people have had success with it, but I was influenced to buy this plant because number 1, I went through a Hoya phase a couple years ago and I just wanted to buy all the Hoya, and Hoya are like really awesome. I'm not gonna lie, they are awesome, but at the same time, they're not my favorite genus, and so I was filling up my collection with Hoya mostly because Hoya were popular and I kind of wanted to just like jump on a trend. And you can't do that. You cannot do that because long-term trendy things, at least in your mind, like Hoyas could be a trend for me but not for you, but in my mind they were a trend, and I really should not have wasted so much money on Hoya that I knew I wasn't like fully in it with, and the macrophylla was one of them. It never really grew for me, which is a problem that I've had with a lot of my Hoyas until I gave them like really, really good conditions. And honestly, until I moved to Colombia, a lot of my Hoya were not very impressive, but now I have like this one right here, which is like amazing. It has 2 blooms right now, and it just took the right conditions to have beautiful Hoya. And in the home that I lived in before, it just wasn't it. So the Hoya macrophylla, I tried it twice, and both times it did exactly the same thing. So the leaves, it was supposed to be variegated, and it barely had any variegation, and that's because it wasn't getting, you know, the conditions that it needed. It was reverting to like a really dark green version with really small, light margins, and again, it wasn't putting out any new leaves. There was no activity. And Hoya are one of those genuses that will just sit tight and stay steady if it's not getting exactly what it needs and wants. Like, it won't die, but it'll just not change at all, and it'll look the same forever. So I have 2 Hoya in my kitchen window that pretty much that's what's happening until they are going to be in a position where they can get more light and probably more humidity. They're gonna look exactly the same. And that's what was happening with my macrophylla. And for some reason, I just didn't think it was pretty enough to get past that. And so I think it either died or I brought it to I brought it to a plant swap. I don't know what happened the first time around. Did I have it twice? Now I'm second guessing if I had it twice, but I know one of the times I brought it to a plant swap and it was a hit. So if you ever have a plant that you just like are so over and you want to get rid of ASAP, bring it to a plant swap if you can, because especially if it's a cool plant like that, people are going to want to buy it, or not buy it, people are going to want to trade with you. And I was so happy to have it gone. It felt really good as soon as that plant was out of my collection. As I mentioned before, this video is sponsored by Skillshare, so let's have a little chat about them. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learn new skills, invest in yourself, and your personal growth. I have been a longtime subscriber of Skillshare, and I really like it because I have so many different interests and I love to grow my abilities using Skillshare classes. So whether I'm wanting to get better at sewing or learn a specific sewing technique, or I'm wanting to try something new on my iPad with Procreate, or I'm wanting to, I don't know, like learn a new business tactic in marketing or whatever else, I know that I can go to Skillshare and I will find a class that is great for whatever I'm needing. Since we are in the business of houseplants, I wanted to suggest a really awesome class. It is called Plants at Home, Uplift Your Spirit and Your Space by Christopher Griffin, aka Plant Queen. And I love this class so much because she has such an electric and contagious positive energy, and I just love her advice. My favorite quote from the entire class is this: "The best plant for you is the one that fits your space and the amount of time that you can dedicate." And I just think this is really important when you are looking for plants, to choose a plant that fits in with your lifestyle. And that is like the theme of this video. Like, these plants did not work out for me because they just did not fit in with my lifestyle. And I just think that this class is really helpful because there's amazing nuggets of information like that, and also entertainment, because Plant Queen is a beautiful person and I really think you're going to love this class. So if you are interested in checking out Skillshare and watching this amazing class by Plant Queen, or any of the other amazing courses that Skillshare has to offer, I will leave a link in the description box below, and the first 1,000 people to click that link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Oh man, I have thoughts on the next one, the Philodendron melanochrysum. So this is a plant that I can confidently say I will never ever buy again. And I do have a very, very, very tiny melanochrysum in my possession because it is a top cutting off of, or is it even a top cutting anymore? I'm not even sure what part of the plant this is from. Maybe it started as a wet stick. Honestly, I don't remember, but I do have a tiny 2 or 3 leaf piece of a melanochrysum, and this plant has burned me probably 3 or 4 times at this point because it is just not it. It's one of those plants that unless it's given something to climb, it will just look like a micans, but like a very expensive stringy micans. And who has time for that? Who wants that? I have talked with people about the melanochrysum so many times, and like, I know that I'm not the only person that has been burned by this plant, so that's why I feel so confident like roasting this plant, because it just, ooh, it's so annoying. You know, you see the really long melanochrysum, and I definitely know people who have a plant like that in their collection. And I just want to ask how is this even possible? Like, it won't even be climbing on something and it'll be continuously putting out those huge leaves. It probably has something to do with light and humidity. Like, definitely a lot of plant care is light and humidity, and you will get like really big leaves. But for some reason, I never cracked the code, and I spent a lot of money trying to crack the code, and I'm just over it, and I never want to do that again. So that's another plant that will put out runners, and it's just very irritating. And I'm realizing that a lot of this video, well, this video is like, the premise of this video is me complaining, but I feel like there are obviously things I could have done to make it better. But I mean, I tried everything I could at the time. I did everything I could with what I had, and still no success. So yeah, I'm to the point in the video where I feel silly for making this video, but we've all been burned by a plant before that everybody said was like the best plant ever. And I know I'm not the only one with a melanochrysum, so I'm gonna stop second guessing myself and just stick to my guns and say the Philodendron melanochrysum has burned me, and it is a terrible plant that I was influenced to buy, and I will never do that again, and I will tell you not to buy one as well. Okay, next is the Anthurium Regale. This plant, I actually do have one like right here in front of me, so let me grab it. Hear me when I say that I am well aware that I am not that great with Anthurium. Some Anthurium, yes, I'm getting a lot better. Actually, I'm gonna give myself some credit. I've gotten a lot better in the last couple of months. But this one is punishing me for no reason. Like, I've done everything right. It lives in my cabinet. It lives in my cabinet, and I have like 4 or 5 other Anthurium in that cabinet, and they are thriving. They are doing the most. This one will put out 1 leaf at a time, and it won't put out another leaf until I cut off the old one. So it is genuinely like a 1-leaf wonder, and it will never be anything else. There is a growth spike that is not going to do anything, and it's very upsetting. This one, this beautiful leaf would have been very beautiful if it didn't have like all of this business on it, and it got damaged as the leaf was hardening off, and I have no idea how that even happened because it was living in the cabinet. I don't think that it's anything related to bacteria, because I have had bacterial spots on my Anthurium, and it doesn't look like this. It looks a little bit different, and I don't have any bacterial problems in the greenhouse at all. So I talked about that in my updated greenhouse video. I did like a 1-year update, and if you have fans and airflow in there, you're not going to deal with bacterial leaf spot really ever, unless there's like water sitting on the leaves for long periods of time, but that was not the case here. So long story short, she is difficult just to be difficult, and I'm over it. And I've been over it for a long time, but I can't get myself to get rid of it because it was kind of expensive, and also I would feel really guilty like selling this plant to someone else and having it do exactly what it's doing to me to somebody else, because it feels like a waste. So it just sits in my cabinet and takes up space. Love that for me and the cabinet. And I just hope that one day I can bully her into putting out another leaf while this one is still intact. I don't know, if there's anyone out there who has a Regale, do you get a lot of leaves, or is it really like a 1-leaf wonder plant? Because I feel like I need to look at photos of other people's Regales, because maybe it is a plant that just has 1 leaf at a time. I have no idea, but I don't like it, so don't buy it. I mean, honestly, like of all of the Anthurium, I have heard that the Regale is the most annoying and pickiest of them all, and I just happen to have one that is definitely living up to the stereotype, so do not recommend. And the last plant that I was influenced to buy that I completely regret buying is the string of turtles. This plant is so boring. It is so incredibly boring. Like, it's like the strings of things plants are boring, I think. I'm not into them. The leaves are so small that you can really only see the fact that this is like some sort of vine. You can't really even like discern what exactly it is. And you know what? We do have like the string of hearts, which has like a very similar vibe, but somehow this is still so much more interesting than this. My little turtles are also quite small, and it lived in my greenhouse cabinet for, gosh, almost a year. I did take it out recently and put it on my green wall, and I was fully expecting that it would die at that point, but it has stayed exactly the same. Actually, it might have even grown a little bit. And this room is pretty humid. I mean, okay, right now it's saying 47% humidity, but I don't buy that. I feel like it's more humid in here than that. But anyway, definitely less humid than the cabinet, but it is still doing something. The turtles are tiny. It's just one of those plants that like seems fun and cute, and then you actually own it and you have it for a while and you're like, ugh. Like there are houseplants that just don't age well, and this is one of them. Houseplants that age well would be like the Monstera deliciosa. Like we've got like constantly beautiful new leaves, like dynamic, bigger leaves every single time. And then you got the string of turtles and it's just like, I'm here. And it's really boring, but it's mostly just here because it is a green plant and I need small plants to fill up my green wall. Yeah, that's really all she's got going for her. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed hearing me roast some plants for a little while. Honestly, I love complaining about plants. Like people love complaining, but I really love complaining about plants. I have a whole podcast where a lot of the time we complain about plants. It's called Potted Together. It's with my two best friends, Adam, not dude, and Nicole, my clean leaves. So if you are interested, we are going to be coming back with a new season in August. We take breaks, like basically when school is out, we take breaks so that we can refresh our minds. But it's a really awesome podcast, and we were actually like number 3 in Home and Garden for a little while, like on the Apple Podcast ratings, which like we were like, what? That's so funny. I mean, it was really cool. So if you are interested, you can check that out. It's definitely more personal chat than like plant chat. So don't go there thinking it's going to be this super informational podcast. It's definitely just like 3 friends who like plants chatting. So just so you are forewarned properly. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to check out Skillshare if you are wanting to hone in on some new skills, grow as a person, etc. Go ahead and check them out. First 1,000 people to click the link will get a free 1-month trial. All right, you guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye.